make this a very quick update because your agenda is obviously very lengthy this evening. So we've been asked just to give a quick update on kind of where we've been, where we are at, and where we are going in reference to EAB. If you guys don't mind, I'll just skip the Emerald Ash board, just stick with the whole EAB. Pre-EAB in West Bend, our department annually removed 125 to 150 street trees every year. That would be the trees and the stumps. EAB was first found in West Bend in June of 2010. At that point in time, our cost estimates to respond to Emerald Ash Board was $2.7 million. We were looking at budgeting an additional $2.7 million. Obviously, we're going to try and absorb some of that work in-house. So the removals themselves were absorbed internally, and the stump removals also were absorbed internally. We did receive additional funding the last several years for materials for stump grinding, topsoils, grass seed, things like that. The replanting, we did contract that work out. We have been, every year we bring that contract to the council. Again, we can't absorb a $2.7 million impact internally. We had to, outsource some of that work. When EAB first hit West Bend, we were looking at 3,200 ash trees along the street. Those trees are now gone except for a handful that several residents are trying to treat and save those trees themselves. Since 2010, we have removed 1,900 street tree stumps. We still have 1,200 remaining. We'll give more detailed information on that shortly. Also, we removed 400 plus park and public property trees and turf areas, the trees and the stumps. Actually, this week we're still in the process of removing some of those stumps. And also during that time period over the last 8 years, we have replanted 1,400 trees. That is a pretty good number. Some of the, we don't instantly replace a tree we cut down. We leave it up to the residents if they want a replacement or not. So 1,400 trees, that's a pretty good number. And every year, city's been bringing a contract forward. We're doing another 350, 380 every year. That's a good number. To try and replace all of those trees that quick, there's not enough nurseries in the state of Wisconsin to do that. So that's a good number. We're at a steady rate. If we keep going the way we are, that should be a pretty good number. Wood utilization throughout the years, we've been working with Habitat for Humanity. Also, the logs that Habitat hasn't used to process into usable lumber, we've been selling those. Little revenue source of $21,000. That money goes right back into the replanting program. It's been very, very successful. Also, the wood chips we are using in parks, and they're being used by local farmers as bedding. So all of our wood material, the logs, the stump grindings, the wood chips, everything's getting used. Nothing's getting wasted. Nothing's going into a hole in the ground. Everything is getting used, which is pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. Where are we at now? Right now, we're continuing planting our street trees. We are also, we have a new program. It's called the Restore Park Tree Initiative. We have some really cool supporters out there. The Friends of Parks, the Sunrise Rotary, Microsoft, and Modern Woodmen have all pledged financial donations to support planting, or the replanting of the parks in West Bend. The first wave of those trees will be going in this year. Just under 50 trees will be planted in parks this spring. Again, very successful. Again, continued planting of the street trees, utilizing capital funding, and also the revenues from the wood sale, or the log sale. We also have trees in woodlots that we have to remove. We're not going to go out and clear all the woodlot, every dead tree in every woodlot the city owns. Trees that are along the fringes, maybe in the backyards of private properties, that those trees could fail and damage someone's property. So we need to get those removed so we don't have any more, so we don't have any issues. So right now, the big question Roger Kist asked us to research a little bit was the stumps that we have. Right now we have 1,200 ash street tree stumps. Annually, we are adding to that number by 50 to 100 non-ash street tree stumps. Maple trees die, other trees die, so that number can grow a little bit. If we continue with our current program of stump removal, utilizing staff, city equipment, we are targeting early in 2020 to have all of those stumps gone. Ground, restored, and then obviously they would be eligible for planting. If we were to attempt to contract out some of this work, I contacted a local company. They do kind of urban forestry work for different municipalities, things like that. They just did a stump grinding contract for the city of Whitefish Bay. So those are the numbers. I mean, those are the most recent numbers I could get my hands on. So utilizing those numbers We looked at the stumps in Wingate subdivision from River Road to Trent Road. There's 132 stumps in there. We went out and measured all the stumps. We got 2,355 inches of stumps. So that's what we need, is the inches of the stumps. We put that into this contract for Whitefish Bay, and it would cost us almost $24,000 just to remove those stumps. So we look at everything out there, and this is just an estimate, because we didn't go out and measure 1,200 stumps in the last 2 weeks or anything else like that. We're looking at a minimum of $213,000 plus. That number's gonna go up because, again, we have to go out and measure everything. The stumps are, if they're gonna be bigger, it's gonna cost us more. So a minimum of $213,000, excuse me, to contract out this work. Also, one problem is, we don't know of any contractor in the state of Wisconsin that's capable of grinding 1,200 stumps, even in a 12-month time period. Normally, the contracts, like the one for Whitefish Bay, I think that's 128 stumps, because that's a good manageable number for these private companies to, conduct work like this. There's not a lot of companies out there that do it. And the thing is too, when we do the stump grinding, we grind a stump today, it's eligible for a tree to be planted tomorrow. Because a lot of these places, residents want their trees. They've already asked us to plant 1,400 trees. That doesn't include this 300 we're doing this year. So we need to make sure that, these are eligible planting sites. Also, the resident might say, I don't want a tree, don't worry about grinding my stump, I'll grind it 2 inches low, throw some topsoil over it. 2 years later, they sell their house. The next resident wants a tree there. Now we don't know if that stump's gone, if it's 2 inches under the topsoil or whatever. So that's why when we grind these stumps, we grind them, we remove them. So when our tree planting contractor shows up, they're not out there grinding half remaining stumps and things like that. So when we do it, so they're gone, and they become viable planting sites. So with that being said, EAB is a 10+ year process for the city of West Bend. We're 8 years into it. I would think by year 11, probably 2020, 2021, we should be done. Stumps will be gone, woodlot trees, etc. Maybe some replanting yet. So, thank you.
Nice work, Mike. That's a curveball. I'm sure you don't expect you to dodge in some wild pitches, but one that lasts 10, 11 years is a challenge, and those are some impressive numbers. If somebody did want to remove their own stump, it's legal for them to do it. You prefer that they waited, but if they're on the list for 2020, and I can understand someone doesn't want a stump there, I was trying to follow your math. Is it like $10 an inch or something?
It's basically $10 an inch. And again, that's just the average. With the contract with Whitefish Bay, they do $8 an inch for a small one, and $10 for, so there's other variables. That's why the $213,000, that's probably on the lower end, it probably go up a little bit, yeah. If a resident wants a grinder stump, fine. They contact our office, I'll go over there, make sure right now, every year, if a resident wants to plant their own tree, we allow that. We have just a quick form they fill out, that way we have a copy of it. And some history of it, because all of our stumps, believe it or not, are part of our street tree inventory. We just need to meet with them so they understand that they need to grind a stump. A lot of times, the ones we're doing in the parks right now, we're not going down 18, 20 inches, because we're not putting the tree back. We just need to make sure the entire stump is removed and it can become a viable planting location again.
I appreciate them contacting your office. You can talk to them also at the same time about replacing the tree if they want, how far from the street, how far from the sidewalk,
Exactly.
et cetera, so they're not having to do it twice. Right?
Yep, absolutely.